I kind of set aside times like when I feel like I'm getting stressed or life is getting too much. I literally just sit back and go, okay, what are we doing? Let's look at the big picture. It's like when you're running a business, you schedule times to sit back and review what's happening in your business and focus on the big picture. I do the same for home and life. I like being efficient. I like simplifying my life. And yeah, so we kind of take moments, Pete and I will sit down. Usually, actually, it's around our wedding anniversary or something where we go, what have we achieved or what are we doing? What are we doing over the next 12 months or that kind of thing? Where, yeah, we just try and go, well, we're trying to put too much into what we're doing right now. How can we change that? How can we simplify it?
Welcome back to the Property Management Podcast. I'm Kylie Walker. Thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about something that I believe we don't talk about enough, and that's the real struggle of juggling business and family life. Because let's be honest, it's not just about managing schedules and ticking off to-do lists. It's the endless mum guilt, the pressure to be everything to everyone, and the fear that if we drop one ball, it will all come crashing down. And even if you're not a mum, there's still the guilt. Maybe it's the guilt that you're not a mum. Maybe it's the extra pressure from your family or friends. Whatever it is, guilt plays a massive part in all our lives. And I know this struggle deeply because I got it all wrong. I worked way too hard. I never missed a school event, sport, or bedtime story. I might have been late once or twice to pick the kids up. Okay, every day my kids were the only ones left standing in the pickup line, but I never forgot them or left them anywhere. At least I don't think I did. My kids might have different stories to tell. But the point of this story is that I was running myself into the ground. I thought I had to do it all on my own, that asking for help meant failing or I couldn't cope. And then my body forced me to stop. I hit full burnout multiple times, got sick, and eventually was diagnosed with a heart condition, all because I thought working harder was the only way. And the worst part, I actually didn't know any better. No one was having these conversations. No one was saying, hey Kylie, you don't have to do this all alone. And that's why today's episode is so important. I'm joined by the amazing Ebonnie Schravemade, Director at Reach Australia, a powerhouse in business leadership in the PropTech space. And she's mastered the art of systems, delegation and scaling without sacrificing her sanity. Well, she has now, but it wasn't always like that. And beyond her incredible career, she's also a mum of three who raised her children while her husband, Peter, travelled 300 days a year. I'm not kidding. All while also, on top of that, working full-time. So she knows exactly what it takes to hold it all together and what happens when you realise you can't do it all alone. Let me tell you, spoiler alert, her body let her down and let her know when enough was enough. So join me in this amazing conversation. We're going to dive into the myth of having it all and why we need to redefine what success looks like, the power of asking for help and building support systems, how to create a business that fits into your life, not the other way around, and the systems and strategies that helped Ebonnie and I manage it all without burning out. Because here's the thing, we're not meant to do this all alone, and we need to have these conversations, support each other and rise together. If you've ever felt like you're drowning in responsibilities, then this episode is 100% for you. So take a listen and learn what it really takes to make it all work without losing ourselves in the process. Ebonnie, welcome to the Property Management Podcast. Before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do now?
Yeah, sure. My husband, Peter, and I currently run the Reach Asia Pacific Accelerator program for property technology companies. We are charged with three things. We basically go looking for new property technology companies, we invest in them, and then we run them through a 12-month accelerator program.
Amazing. And you've been quite involved though in the property tech world. There's a few other companies that you worked for. How did you get into that space and sort of talk us a little bit about that journey and where it's taken you and what you've learned along the way?
Yeah, so I kind of fell into property technology actually, and it was a result of Pete's involvement and the amount of time he was spending on the road traveling with that company. So he was working for a company called boxbrownie.com, and he started with them back in, I think it was about 2016. And that led to a lot of travel. So within the first couple of years, he was spending like 300 days of the year away in the US. I was juggling our three kids and working full time myself as a key account manager for an organic wholesaler on the Sunshine Coast at the time, actually. And so when he would return home after these trips, we'd have to sit down, we'd have to plan what the next 3 months looked like. So we'd have to book his travel, accommodation, and then work out logistically how we're going to manage the kids after school activities whilst I was working as well. And I felt at the time I was literally working three full-time jobs. It was just hectic. So this one time Pete was away, I was like, I can't, like, this is just getting too much. I need to try and simplify my life and try and work out a way around this. So I actually called the CEO of Box Brownie, which was Pete's boss at the time, and asked him for a coffee, to catch up for a coffee. Now, I knew Mel, we used to catch up at Christmas parties and that kind of thing. So we knew each other pretty well. And when we were sitting down having a cuppa, I just said to him, I feel like I'm already working for you. Have you got a job where I can literally give up my other full-time job and come over and work for Box Brownie as well? Pete and I have worked on and off in different businesses our whole lives, well, since our married lives, actually. So it was like, it's not a big deal for us to work together. And he said yes. And so that's how I ended up in property technology. But my background was actually in banking and lending.
Amazing. So much of what you said then about, juggling three jobs is so relatable. And that's the kind of what I want to dive into today is that whole journey that we go on as women and mothers and working mums. And I love that you took the bull by the horns and went, this is not working for me. I need to change things so that it works better for me, Pete, and the kids and the family. And this journey for me is nearly at an end. I'm happy to share that my youngest is in year 12 this year. So he's finishing. I'm on the last legs and he's got his own car and license now. So I'm not involved a lot anymore. But talk me through some of the struggles. Let's start with the struggles of, when you were in that stage of juggling three full-time jobs. And let me tell you, running 3-4 kids around and all their after school activities and coordinating your calendar and making sure you don't forget something is a full-time job. It's a lot of brain work. What were the struggles that you were feeling at that time? And what impact was it having on your health and your marriage and your life?
Yeah, I think at that time, I look back on it now and I was just in survival mode. Pete and I would say that we are fairly good communicators, and I think that's what got us through most of that period. Like when Pete was traveling, a lot of his life was on social media and that kind of thing. So from the outside, it looked like we were living Pete was living this glamorous life, and then I was behind the scenes just surviving. So that kind of added another dimension of difficulty when it came to, family relationships and people looking in from the outside. But we'd always said, when things get hard, family's number one priority. And when things get hard, we just had to be open to change. But during that period when, we kind of kept focusing on why we're doing this, we're working our butts off now so that, we can give our kids a future that, we would hope for them, like we could support them into university or whatever. So that was our main goal. But, there were days where I would get up for work. When I was working full time at the other business, I was doing 6:30 till 2:30 shifts. So I'd be up before the kids. The kids were 10, 7 and 5 at the time. I'd make them lunches, leave the house, hope that they would get to the bus stop on time. And then I would be finished work at 2:30 to pick them up, take them to sport, music, whatever that might be. And there were days where, like I would say to my daughter, she was playing basketball and I'd drop her off at basketball and I'd say, darling, I can't come in today. I'm just so tired. I need to have a nap in the car, or then we'd get home. I'd make dinner. I'd be in bed at 7:30 saying to the kids, can you turn the lights out when you get to bed? Don't stay up too late. Like it was just survival. Yeah, at times.
And that's classic burnout, isn't it? Like right there, I was exactly the same as you. I would take naps in the car while the kids would be banging on the windows to wake me up in the afternoon. And then again, same as you, like in bed at 7:30 at night. Just had no energy, like nothing. And I describe it as nothing in my tank. I had absolutely nothing. And it's funny because I didn't know that wasn't normal until I went to see a naturopath. And she did all my blood work and said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've actually got adrenal fatigue. You've got nothing in your tank. And did you hit a moment like that? What was the kind of pivotal aha moment that you went, oh my God, this is not normal?
Outside of all of those things, being a mum and a wife, felt it was important to still do something for myself. And the one thing I did for myself was play a sport. So I was playing indoor soccer, and I was playing indoor soccer one night, and one of the guys kicked my leg and broke it. So when he went to kick the ball, I was like defending and he kicked through and broke my leg. And I tried to carry on. I ended up like in a moon boot for like 8, 9 months after that, but I tried to carry on. And within the first week, I was on my way to work and I had to pull up on the side of the road because I just was like, I can't do this. I literally was like, I'm in so much pain. The kids were making themselves toasties for dinner, like, because I couldn't get off the couch. And that was the moment, like, I called a friend and I just said, because Pete was away at the same time it happened as well. And I called my friend and was like, can you come and pick me up? I need to go home and have a day off. And my parents drove up they were living on the Gold Coast at the time. So they drove up and brought in a bag of groceries. And my youngest son said when they walked in the door, oh, thank goodness he brought food. So that was a moment for me where I just was like, I can't do everything. I can't be everything to everyone right at this moment, and I need to just stop. That guilt of being a mother and having to just keep up with everything at times it can be very difficult. Yeah.
And I know I said before I'm coming to that, like your body lets you know, doesn't it? Like it just gets to a point where, for me, it was a heart condition. I ended up with atrial fibrillation and in and out of hospital for nearly 2 years before I had surgery to fix it. And because like you, my self-care was always exercise and going to the gym and running so I was really fit and healthy. And when I was having all my testing for my heart, the only thing they could put it down to was long-term ongoing stress, which is, quite shocking really. Like when I think back of it, but where I was going with my next question was, when I think back to my days in the trenches with the 4 kids, going to school, sports. And even though my ex-husband didn't travel, we had office in 2 separate, like one in Toowoomba, one in Ipswich. He was also a sports coach as well, which took him away weekends. And I was not a good communicator. And I think I gave myself a badge of honour for being the person that, was the toughest. I toughed it out and I did all the things. And that was, it was like I was constantly having to push and prove myself. And that's how I gave myself value, to the detriment, obviously, of my health. And I think a lot of women do have that. We, put the women on the pedestals who are pushing really hard and doing all the things, as opposed to the women who do have good boundaries and do have good communication and can prioritise self-care. Do you see that with the way we all are as women? Are you feeling overwhelmed and thinking about selling your rent roll? Don't worry, you're not alone, and HDNU is here to help. Whether you're ready to sell now or you just want to plan for the future, the friendly and approachable team at HDNU makes the process simple and stress-free. Hello, yes please. With over 30 years of expertise, they're not just about crunching the numbers. They genuinely care about helping you maximise your agency's value and get the best outcome for you. Their sales readiness bundle is like having a trusted advisor by your side. They'll work closely with you to assess your agency's key factors, create an easy to understand heat map of your strengths and opportunities, and then sit down with you for a 90-minute workshop to guide you on what to do next. They'll look at everything from rent roll earnings and rent arrears to compliance and team performance and explain it all in plain English. If you're planning to sell soon, HD&U can even handle the whole process for you, from finding qualified buyers to negotiating the deal. Their friendly, professional team takes the stress out of selling so you can feel confident every step of the way. And to get started, simply book in a meeting with the team today. Their link is in the show notes. They're here to help you move forward with confidence. If you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this, a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative prop tech scale up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is Kolmeo.
Yeah, I do. I struggle with self-care because I feel selfish at times for doing it. And I don't think it has been until, my kids have been that bit older and I've had that little bit more room to breathe because they're more self-sufficient or whatever, that I've kind of gone, you know what, I need to look after myself. If I'm not, at my best, no one's getting anything from me, and I know that I'm a better person when I'm looking after myself. And yeah, that's kind of only come after the kids have been, grown up and yeah.
So what are some of the strategies then that you have put in place after getting to those, breaking a leg moments and hitting those rock bottom moments? What are some of the things that you did to improve and change things for you and the family?
Yeah, I kind of set aside times like when I feel like I'm getting stressed or life is getting too much. I literally just sit back and go, okay, what are we doing? Let's look at the big picture. It's like, when you're running a business, you schedule times to sit back and review what's happening in your business and focus on the big picture. I do the same for home and life. I like being efficient. I like simplifying my life. And yeah, so we kind of take moments, Pete and I will sit down. Usually, actually, it's around our wedding anniversary or something where we go, what have we achieved or what are we doing? What are we doing over the next 12 months or, that kind of thing where, yeah, we just try and go, well, we're trying to put too much into what we're doing right now. How can we change that? How can we simplify it? So an example recently is we still travel quite a bit with Reach, but nowhere near as much as what Pete was doing with Box Brownie. And, the bonus is we get to travel together now. So we spend more time together. But when we come home, we want to have downtime and quiet time. And we were living in suburbia on the Sunshine Coast, and we were going, it was just getting noisier and noisier where we lived because it was, it's a really beautiful place to live and everyone wants to live there. And so we were like, maybe it's time to move, like our eldest daughter's moved to Melbourne. She's off at university. Our second daughter's just graduated year 12 and she's looking to move out. And our youngest is going to grade 10. And we're kind of feeling like, might be time for a change. So we bought a farm and we've just moved. It's about an hour 15 north of where we were, and we're on 25 acres. And it's a huge change for us because it's fairly, our youngest son's now actually doing distance education, which is a change for him as well. But the idea behind that is, well, one, we were probably too far to go to, for him to go to his original school. And two, we thought we could take him along on some of our, trips overseas and that kind of thing. And it might be good for him because he's a really social kid as well. So, on the flip side of that, he's not going to a school, so he's going to miss out on that social aspect. But, he's staying connected with a lot of his friends. He does online gaming, that kind of thing. But coming traveling, I think, might be really good for his personal development. And yeah, so that's been a really big lifestyle change for us recently. And we arrived at that decision because, life was getting hectic again. So
That's amazing. And it's been the right decision for you. Like, I always fear that the remoteness, I think, of not, even though I like my own space, the thought of, being isolated is a bit of a fear of mine.
yes. Yes, it was for me as well. Like when we first drove up and saw this property, I was a flat out no. I was like, oh my gosh, where are we? We've driven up dirt tracks, like it's remote. And I grew up on a farm, so I know, what living remotely is like. And I was just like, nah, can't do it. This is not for me. But I am someone that needs time to process things. So, like, instantly I was like, where would Neb go to school? Like, how would the girls come back and visit us? Like, how would we, which airport would we fly out of to do our travel? How would we work our business? That kind of thing. But I must say now, like, I actually am a bit of an introvert, so I prefer to live like I'd be happy just staying at home most of the time, whereas Pete's the opposite. He's probably feeling it more than me. But now my biggest fear is I don't want to leave the property. So it is so beautiful up here. We're on the top of a mountain. We have incredible views. We can see four mountain ranges from our back doorstep. It's just incredible. And we can hear nature and, oh gosh, no traffic. It's perfect. I love it.
Sounds very idyllic, and I'm a little bit jealous when you describe the views. I would kill for some nice views. I didn't do anything as drastic as like moving remotely when I needed to put some changes in place, but I just wanted to share, and maybe you did some of these things as well. But again, some of the changes that you have to make to get that better integration of your work and home life, you feel guilty. You feel like you can't cope, and I felt a lot of judgment when I started implementing some of the things, like, for example, just getting a cleaner once a week, getting a cleaner in. I felt so judged and so much guilt around that. I got a guy, I've got 2.5 acres, nothing like yours, but it was too much for me to then spend half a day on the ride on mower. So I've got a mower man in who does all like fencing and bits of maintenance for me as well. And then I even then went as far, when we opened up multiple offices, I went as far and I got a nanny, which was just one of my mum friend's daughter who was in uni, and she just picked up the kids for me after school, drove them to their activities, and then maybe would start dinner for me or would help them with their homework. And that was just such a big help and mental load, but I still felt really judged and guilty for doing that. Were there some things that you did as well?
Yes. So for starters, I think you need to surround yourself with like-minded people who understand, what you're going through and support you in that journey. I was the same, like I would never actually enter the school grounds because, I felt so different to other mothers, working full time, juggling kids, and my husband traveled all the time. Whereas, there were some mums that were able to not work and, just be there full time for their children. I kind of felt a bit jealous of that at times. But then I looked at on the flip side and went, well, what am I teaching my kids about, working hard and that kind of thing and setting goals and so I kind of felt comfortable with the decision and the direction we were going. But, then I go, well, when we're struggling in business and we, have too many jobs to do in business, we employ people to help us, or we outsource it, or we use technology to to, make our lives easier and to be able to focus on the business, why wouldn't we do that at home as well? By getting a cleaner that might allow you more time to spend with your kids. To me, that's a positive, like why a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do that? So we actually had, when Pete was traveling with Box Brownie the 300 days of the year, I had a really good friend of mine. She'd just come back to Australia from a stint overseas and she was going back to study. She was a little bit younger than me. And she just said to me, we had a big house. So she was like, I could move in, you'd be helping me out with rent and I could help you out with the kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So she ended up living with us for like 3 or 4 years. And she would just do 2 or 3 afternoons a week of the run around. And, like you're the girl that helped you out as well, like just getting dinner started or something along those lines. And just actually having company in the house, someone to chat to, and was just like, I couldn't have done it without her. And yeah, so absolutely, like I'm all for trying to find ways to make, the chores that you have to do at home easier so that you can focus on time with the family.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's right. And, I think no one ever gives you permission. You've just got to, and I think the takeaway here is that we've just got to look at what's going to make our lives as individuals easier, what's going to make us happier, what is going to fill our cups up. And if that's taking some things off and I found one of the things I found was that because I was so tired and burnt out, I was getting snappy, I was cranky, I was moody, probably a little bit of perimenopause in there as well. And I wasn't showing up as my best version as a mother in the office. I was constantly feeling bad about how I was acting to people. But then once I started offloading some of those tasks, I found my energy came back. I was able to be a better mum. I was able to be a better boss. I was able to be a better friend, a better daughter. All those things improved when I wasn't carrying that load. So I think that's probably a good takeaway for anyone listening there. Now, can you share with us some of your personal development, a tool, a book, a resource, something that you think may help out the other working mums struggling to do it all?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think about the best one for this, and I just had something that was so simple that I didn't expect it so bit of a background. We're a tech-enabled household here, and it's mostly driven by Pete. He loves tech. He's an early adopter of tech. And at times I whinge because I get a bit frustrated about it. Like Google doesn't listen to me, listens to Peter, it doesn't listen to me, and it does my head in at times. But there's been 2 tech items that he's brought into the house that have literally saved me hours of time. One of them is our Winbot window cleaner. So it basically cleans every single window on my house, my shower screens. We're about to get a pool, so it's going to be doing the pool fence. I've already got jobs for it to do, and it just saves me hours of time. The other one is the robot vacuum cleaner. So they are 2 things, and it just goes daily. We just set it on a timer and it is done. And I literally don't have to mop the floors. I probably do it once every 6 months just as a double up. But if there were 2 tools, I know that's probably not what you were expecting, but it has changed my home life like nothing else.
Can you just explain the window bot? How does that one work?
Yeah.
I know people who've got the vacuum one, the floor one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I have never heard of this window one. Share.
Yeah. So Pete wanted to buy the first release of this thing, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can spend the money. It might have been like $1,000 or something initially, and I'm going, oh, I don't know, that's a lot of money. And he ended up holding off and then buying the Winbot 2. So it's called Ecovacs Winbot 2, and it's one that you just charge, and then you don't have to plug it into a power supply. So it's just movable, so you can move it all throughout the house. But you have a button, it suctions. It's got a square device like this with a pad on the back, and you just put vinegar and water in it, and then you just press it, and the suction sucks to the wall, and it just cleans the window. And then it'll let you know once it's done. It'll just beep, and then you take it off and put it on the next window and go again.
That is unbelievable. I am going to go and I have got so many windows at my house, and they do not get cleaned very often. So
No.
that's amazing. Thank you. That's the best tip for, not just working mums, but all women, all men. who don't have time for cleaning. That's amazing. Love it. So how can our audience reach out and connect with you further?
Yeah, maybe I can share some of my contact details with you afterwards. Is that the easiest way to go?
Yeah, yep. I'll put them all in the show notes. But are you on any of the social platforms
Yes.
or
Sorry, inexperience. Oh, yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, any of those things you can connect out. LinkedIn's probably the best professional contact for me.
Amazing. Ebony, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely loved that conversation, and thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with everyone.
Thanks for having me, Kylie.
Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.